Indeed, each and every one of us are the heart, the hands, and the voice of Spirit on earth. Each and every one of us are expressions of the Most High. Each and every one of us are that perfect emanation of the One. And so as we come together this day for the purpose of celebrating life, we know that we are blessed. So we know that this service is blessed, and we just give thanks for this day. We give thanks for our awareness of that power, that presence, which is God within our lives. And now we can just sit back and let this service unfold today in perfect divine right order. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. Now we begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all faiths come to the one universal presence, which we call Spirit. Our candle lighter this morning is Dana. Let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. Our last candle is the healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. Now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Each Sunday we like to restate, reaffirm our purpose, our vision, and our mission statements. And we do this not for the purpose of just getting up and reciting these, but to really remember why we bother doing all this. So what is our purpose? What is our reason for being as an organization? We awaken and inspire love and oneness. What is our vision? What do we want to create, or what do we want to become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission. What's our mission statement? How are we going to do this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Wow, Judy's not here and I still heard her. Our sacred reading today is from The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes. Chapter 16, it's on the principles of successful living. We have no record of Jesus asking God to do anything, except in the Garden of Gethsemane. Aside from this one instance, Jesus' method of approach during his entire ministry was to give thanks and then command the law to work. This is the correct manner of approach to the Spirit and the law. Yet we have any record of another man so apparently trying to follow the divine will? No. When Jesus healed people and told them to get up and walk, he did not pray that they might be able to get up and walk. He exercised an authority which seemed to be the result of his communion with the Spirit, and undoubtedly it was. Oh, thank you, choir, and Aaron. And now I'm going to be stuck. I am the thinker all week. Well, welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you all who have come out today. It's good to see several new people. And thank you to all of those of you who have invited us into your home this day. Whether you're watching on your phone, your tablet, your PC, thank you for being with us today. And say hi to us in the chat room. It'd be good to hear from everyone today. Within this center, we believe in certain spiritual principles, and we also believe in certain spiritual practices. And perhaps foremost of those practices is the practice of prayer. We absolutely believe in the power of prayer, the efficacy of prayer. That's a new word we learned with all the pandemic. We absolutely believe that prayer works. And I get to see it demonstrated daily, weekly, monthly, annually. Prayer works. And we have a variety of ways for you to receive prayer. Perhaps one of the easiest ways is if you are here, there is a box in the back, and there's a little prayer request form, and you can just fill it out, drop it in the box, and the practitioner of the day, that be me, will collect those, and they will be sent out to our team of 16 licensed practitioners who will pray with and for you all week. But you can also fill out a prayer request form online. You can go to our website, CSLalaska.org, and on there's a place for you to submit a confidential prayer request there. Reverend Linda gets those and downloads them, and we all get them. It's great. I don't know whether she stays up all night or what, but we get the prayer requests like right after you send it in. Let's see, 4 announcements today. This week, several coming weeks, we are participating, we are supporting the LDS Church in their annual Thanksgiving food drive, and they have asked us to provide some of these unique things. Oh, look at this. I have an assistant here, my Vanna. What is that? That is stovetop.
6 ounces.
6 ounces. And this raises the question, is it stuffing or is it dressing? We had quite the debate over that. Dressing is the stuff you put on lettuce. That's not it. Stuffing is the stuff that goes in the bird, but we haven't done that for like generations, so I don't know what it is. But that's the stuff. It doesn't have to be that brand. Corn. God, I can't have Thanksgiving without corn. What's next? Cranberry sauce. Boy, they'd like that cranberry sauce. And lastly, green beans. Oh, boy. Green beans. So if you could make a donation of these items, you can bring them to the center here on Sundays, or you can take them to Judy Wolf's house, and I don't know, do we have that address up there?
Yeah, you do.
We do, okay. And I can't read it because 1750 East Ridge Drive. It's near 20th and Lake Otis. And Judy Wolf will collect those, and we'll get all these to here, and we will take them out to the LDS Church, and I think November 19th is when we do that. So this is a good example of, earlier we stated what our mission was, and our mission is teaching spiritual transformation. Our mission is not to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, or to assist the poor. It's not that we don't believe in those things, we absolutely do, but it's not our mission. So we support those whose mission is to feed the hungry. And we do that by things like this, through food drives. And we've done all kinds of things like that. The first time we ever had one of these, when Fish came to pick it up, they could not believe that a small congregation made donations to the extent that we did. But our mission is teaching spiritual transformation. Our mission is spreading this philosophy that allows people to live lives that are more prosperous, more abundant, more meaningful, more loving. That was my lecture for the day. Let's see. I have to keep track of what I'm doing. Okay. Also, one of the ways we do that, we have during the autumn, it's a good time to do it, but we have an ongoing class, the 4 Principles of Prosperity. Judy Wolf and Linda are conducting this class. I call it a class. It's kind of sort of a book study. It's based on the book of Edwin Gaines called The 4 Principles of Prosperity. But it's an opportunity for you to come in and connect with us. Now, this is a Zoom class. It's an all online class. You can do it from the comfy of your own home in your pajamas. But you have to let us know, because we need an email to send you a Zoom link so you can get in. So you can call the office and let people know. And the office number, 907-522-0940. or you can email the office at cslalaska.org. And we will get you in, and we will get you the link to participate in the 4 principles of prosperity. Let's see. Oh, I think we're all through with everything. The minister's moment. I think most people know I am not a fan of talking about myself, but I am asked the same questions repeatedly, so I'll just get it out here. In regard to my health, I'm as healthy as a horse. I have a little procedure tomorrow morning in which they're going to go in and take out some of the plaque that has evidently built up in my carotid artery. So go in for a few days for a little checkup and tune-up, and we'll be going. Now, an abundance of caution. I will be in the hospital for a couple of days, but please, no flowers and that stuff. And many, many thanks to Kaleem, who will do next week, because I'll probably be out a couple of days and I won't be able to give my full attention to next week's sermon, so that you can be guaranteed of getting an inspirational sermon next week by Brother Kaleem. Now, speaking of guest speakers, we have a guest speaker today. I almost said Reverend Stevie. Stevie is one of our newest practitioners. I had the joy of being her teacher through all of the prerequisite classes and through 2.5 years of practitioner training. And we really had a great class. I think you'll enjoy our guest speaker today, Stevie Leniear. And I think that is it. We are on to some amazing things.
was amazing. Very beautiful. Good morning. As you have heard, my name is Stevie, and it is hard to follow that song. I'm not going to lie. It always puts me in a really emotional headspace. I want to start today by talking about a little girl. And this little girl, she came from a family that wasn't overly wealthy. I don't even think middle class is what you could call it. So whatever comes right before that. So around the holidays, when everybody else was getting super excited about Santa and gifts and all the great food, this girl would find herself in a lot of different headspaces. There was this sense of excitement because it is the holiday season, and as a kid, no matter what, you want to be excited, but there was also this awareness that it wasn't going to look the same for her family. So 7th grade, and one thing about this girl was she knew she could count on that holiday spirit at school. Projects, crafts, teachers are bringing in goodies, so even if at home she didn't get to experience that holiday bliss, she could go to class every day and feel a little bit of that spirit. So this little girl was close with her teachers. She was a little bit of a teacher's pet, and her teachers got to find out a lot about her, asking questions and being curious. So in 7th grade, lo and behold, her teacher decided to team up with the school counselor, and they surprised this little girl with a $250 gift card. This is a true story, by the way. So this little girl was called to stay after class and was presented with this gift card. 7th grade, mind you. So she's looking at this card like, I've never seen this much money. I'm rich. And the teacher was like, this money is for you. Do whatever you want with it this holiday year. Make the most of it. So immediately, this little girl starts making a list of all her loved ones because she cannot wait to be able to make it happen, to give gifts this year. She wasn't going to go buy herself a whole bunch of stuff. She wanted to spend this holiday year giving gifts because it's one of the things she could never afford to do. And she always saw friends giving each other things, and she couldn't really participate. So she writes down all her friends and family and makes the trip to the stores and does exactly that. She spends every ounce of that $250 on other people. And she was so excited. The amount of gratitude that she actually was able to give this year when she'd never had that opportunity, she was ecstatic. So of course, after the weekend, when she goes back to school, her math teacher is like, hey, so, a little bit curious, what'd you get yourself? Like, what'd you do with the money? And she's just ecstatic, can barely get her words out. And she's like, so I bought this person this, and I got my mom this, and I got my dad this, and my friends all got one of these. And the teacher is looking a little concerned, but listening. And she's waiting. And I remember the teacher was like, okay. At one point, the teacher was like, what'd you get yourself? And she's like, oh, I think I got just a little something, but I really spent a lot of time making sure that I got everybody some gifts. And so the teacher saw how excited this little girl was, so she wasn't going to make too much of a big deal out of it, but she made note. By the end of that week, that little girl was called to the counselor's office. So now at this point, she's thinking, okay, maybe she's in trouble. So she's called to the counselor's office. When that counselor opens the door, there are bags upon bags of gifts. Well, surprise, this little girl is me. And this was many years ago, but I remember walking into that counselor's office really, really confused because I had already spent my $250. And the teacher made it a point to share my story with the counselor, and so they tricked me by making sure this time I couldn't go and spend the money on other people, and they bought me gifts instead. What I remember most from this point in time in my life was how grateful I was. I was grateful to go to school and get that little piece of holiday spirit that I didn't get at home. I was grateful to be able to be put in a position to do for others what others weren't able to always do for me. And as I continued to just tap into that feeling of gratitude, it was like all of the blessings just continued to multiply at a rate I could not even keep up with. And so I took those gifts home. I still split them with my mother and my sister, but I didn't tell the teacher or the counselor that part. Well, good morning. There's probably a lot of different places I could take this talk today, but we're going to talk about gratitude. As you know, we've been talking about prosperity all month long, and we have got a really great class to tie into this topic as well. When I thought about gratitude, there were so many different places to take this. And I had to reflect on areas where, when there was not much else, there was still something that I could count on to be grateful for. So a couple of points that I want to make about gratitude today. Gratitude is limitless. There is no cap. And I think that that is really, really awesome. There's no cap on gratitude. Also, when it comes to manifesting and, realizing that our life is very much so a product of our creative thoughts, gratitude is a very powerful emotion. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And last but not least, I had to look this up because I was kind of not agreeing with the dictionary. I saw that gratitude was a noun, but the further I dug, it could actually be considered a verb as well. So gratitude is alive. It is a living, actionable verb. So gratitude is limitless. I think this is an important place to start because sometimes, especially when I think about where we are in the world right now, there's a lot of things that can take us out of gratitude because there's distractions, there's turmoil, there are challenges, there are health issues that are going on. There is, need I even say it, a pandemic. And so even coming up here and talking about gratitude, I was like, ooh, this is bold. But it's important because in times like this, this is where gratitude can make the biggest impact. And a lot of times when we are thinking about things that feel like lack and limitation, it's easy to get in our own box of where we can no longer go any further. And so when I think about gratitude, first of all, what do you have to be grateful for? Sometimes that can be a tricky question. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is think about those core values. Think about those things that have structured your morals, have structured your character, those things that nobody can take away from you. That is what we should be grateful for. I think a lot of the times we can get fixated on people, places, and things. A car, a roof over my head, a boss that likes me. And sometimes we can limit what actually can come to us because we are so fixated on specific situations or people. And so what I love about gratitude is every time I think about gratitude, it forces me to go from here to here. And I think about, as long as I can be grateful for prosperity, as long as I can be grateful for being able to wake up and having that feeling of peace, that gratitude fills in the gaps. It allows whatever idea that I have to be expanded upon, and it leaves room for, dare I say, something better. And a lot of the times as I am doing my gratitudes, or if I am putting something out there that I'd like to achieve, I always say this or something better. And I'm grateful to know that that is already done. I've heard this many a times, and I couldn't tell you where it came from, so shame on me. But the more grateful you are, the more that you will have to be grateful for. And this is something that I have repeated in my head so much over the last couple of weeks, because the very act of showing appreciation reinforces that of which you are taking the moment to be thankful for, which in my mind basically means that gratitude becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where more and more can come just by being able to hone in on the fact that we are appreciating what we are receiving, or in some case, what we have yet to receive, which takes me right into my second point. Gratitude is a very, very powerful emotion, feeling that we can tap into. And my favorite way that I've used this as a precursor. I remember a time a couple years ago where I had a show. And usually if I'm doing things that are musically inclined, I'm rapping. If you didn't know that about me, hi. And this was a setting where I had the opportunity to sing. Now you notice I'm not up in the choir, bless their hearts and soul, because it takes some courage that, I feel like it can be a little challenging sometimes. But I had signed up for this gig knowing I was going to be singing, knowing it's out of my comfort zone. And for whatever reason, I was feeling drawn to do it. And so I remember parking in the parking lot. So I'm going to the event, so it's within the hour time frame of me going up on stage. And I would say that last hour to 30 minutes before my name is called, that whole situation there, I just go through this like butterflies and like nervousness, like not quite sweating, but all of the things come up no matter how prepared I am. And so not only was I dealing with just a little bit of the stage fright and just all those natural emotions, I knew that I was putting myself in a very vulnerable position. And I kept finding myself fighting these thoughts of fear. It's a real thing. It happens to the best of us. I'm fighting these thoughts of fear of what could go wrong, or fear if I don't hit the notes, or what if people are talking about, just all of these thoughts. And I just found my higher self like, like we know better. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, what can I focus on instead? Because I can't just clear my head. I need to replace it with something else that can be noisy, because that's just how it works for me. And I literally heard this voice in my head that said, just focus on being thankful for a great show. Let everything else fall into place. Focus on being grateful for that person that is meant to hear whatever they're meant to hear from you, from the voice that gets to just be touching all the people in the audience. Just focus on being thankful. And I was like, all right, cool. I can switch that out. Switching out fear for gratitude, I'm on it. So I walk up to the little pay station, and I'm thinking about, okay, I'm grateful for knowing that this is already perfect. Now, this hasn't happened yet, but I'm being thankful in advance. So I walk up to the little pay station, entering my card and whatnot, and I notice there's a little bracelet that's sitting like somebody left it behind. I don't know who's got good enough eyes to see this, so I think I might pass it around. I found this bracelet that day, and it's one of those old school little block, you know those little lettered bracelets that you have, and it says thankful. And of course I took it. Sorry, I don't know who left it. I figured it was meant for me. And I kid you not, that was one of the most monumental shows I've ever done. The amount of people that I met after that show that I'm still working with to this day. And not to mention, every single time I find myself in a place where I am even remotely nervous or afraid, I've got such a great example of why gratitude works. Couldn't make this up. Gratitude. And so I was thankful. So again, if you're in that place where we're going to have emotions, we recognize here in this philosophy that our thoughts create a reality. Thoughts are things. Sometimes going completely blank slate in your brain, if you meditate a lot, you might be able to do that and just think nothing, but why not replace it with something that's going to enhance your experience? So the way I see it, for me, in that situation, gratitude literally became a vacuum to my fear. And it allowed me to propel a really great experience forward for me just by switching my attitude and putting that in place. I'll never forget that. Now, a lot of the times when we are in a place where we want to incorporate something into our life like gratitude, this is where the action comes in. It can sound great in theory. It can sound great on paper. But how do you make it come to life? Now, I pulled from a couple of different people and great practices that they have. I did a little bit of research on this. But some of my favorite ways that I have learned to incorporate gratitude jar. Judy, I was really hoping would be here today because she kicked off this in one of our classes. And she basically had a jar that she would keep at her house. And at least once a day, she would write on a little piece of paper and fold it and put it in that jar. And she made it a goal to watch that jar fill up. And that was her way to make sure she was protecting, actively living and breathing gratitude. Now, I think she might have brought it into class one day, and it was like a pretty decent sized mason jar. I decided I was going to challenge myself, and I had this really big jar from those cheese puffs. Don't judge me. But if you know what I'm talking about, they're like this big and this round. So needless to say, I've been adding entries, and there's still plenty of space for more. So maybe start with a mason jar, because the reward system, our body feels really good when we can accomplish something all the way, and then you can start a brand new jar. But what I found has worked for me is I'll throw things in there, and on a day where things are feeling a little bit heavier than usual, I'll pull from it. And it just happens to be every single time I pull from that gratitude jar, whatever it is that I'm reading is exactly what I need to be reminded to be thankful for. So the gratitude jar is a really great idea. Another thing that you can do, now I've heard this kind of used in different ways, but I think it's really great to reflect on gratitude afterwards and make it a point to, go over whatever you were thankful for in your day. But if you can catch yourself in that moment when you're experiencing that bliss, when you're experiencing that joy, and really just kind of like screenshot that moment, if I may. Keep 4 pennies in a pocket. Make it a goal by the end of your day that you have moved all 4 pennies from the left to the right or from the right to the left. And every time you have that moment of gratitude, you just move one over. And if you're like me, you'll feel them in your pocket. You'll know something's there that's not usual, so it'll remind you to shift your pennies. Just a little trick to keep you committed to counting your blessings throughout the day. I know a lot of people who like to journal, so there's always that. And I think that starting your day with what you're grateful for in advance is a great way to do it. And circling back at the very end of the day to write down a few of those things that you're grateful for is also really good. So once again, the amount of ways that you can tap into gratitude are endless. But really, it's about making it your own. Something else I've heard of, since we are in the age of technology, you can, with a lot of these phones, schedule yourself a message. So you could take 5 minutes on a Sunday to schedule yourself a text for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, to where you don't even have to think about it for the rest of the day. But what if you know that time, 2 p.m. at work, is when things always get hectic? You're coming off of conference calls, you've got this going on. Schedule that text for 2:15. So even if you're not thinking about it, you get that message from yourself that says, hey, remember that you've got loved ones that are always thinking about you. I'm grateful for that. So look into your phones later. If you didn't know that you could schedule a message, you definitely can, to yourself and to others. Or maybe schedule a text to say how much you're grateful for somebody else. I think that that's absolutely impactful as well. Another thing that you can do, this for me feels very practical. Swap out your sorries for thank yous. I don't know if you've heard this before, but this is actually something that they've done a lot of studies on. Swap out your sorries for thank yous. A good example, not that this has ever happened to me, but instead of sorry I'm late, thank you for being so patient. I'm finally here. Sorry, I'm plugging that one in. I had to plug that one in. So actually the study that I read upon, and I learned this in my retail journeys, they had basically done a study on people who would wait in line. Black Friday is coming up, so you'll keep this in mind when that happens if you are shopping. If you're waiting in line for a while, usually it takes maybe about 2 to 3 minutes before you can make your way up to that cashier, but depending on where you're going and what the circumstances are, you may be in line 5, 10, 15 minutes. I think usually for me, after 15, I'm really looking at that item like, do I need it? Like, do I need food, or can I go a couple more days without it? So they did a study, and they basically had 2 different groups where the cashiers who were, trying to ring people out and looking up and seeing this really long line ahead of them, which can be really intimidating if you are actually trying to be a cashier and you see that this line is never ending. And they had one group of cashiers say, I'm so sorry for the wait, you guys. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, bear with us. I'm so sorry. And they would say that every, 4 to 6 minutes, just to remind the group, because, as you're going through the line, there's new people that are now hearing that you're sorry, that you're having to keep them in this line for longer than is ideal. They had the second group of people, instead of saying, I'm sorry, saying, thank you so much for your patience. We'll be right with you. And that's what they continued to say to the people in that line was, thank you for your patience. I'll be with you soon. When they had these people ring up, they had them do a survey. And they found that for the people that were getting the sorry, they were still just as disgruntled by the time they finally got through the line. And they were not necessarily in a position where they were happy to come back to this business. So probably not a repeat customer. The people who were in the line where the cashiers were saying, thank you for your patience, they actually said, when they were answering the question, how long do you think you were waiting for? Because they didn't know exactly how long they were waiting. They reported that they were waiting 10 minutes cap when they were actually in line 15 to 20. Whereas the people who were in the line that were being told sorry, they felt like they were in the line for 20 minutes, if not more. So it was like the gratitude of thanking people instead of saying sorry almost bended time. It created a reset for these customers to where they forgot how long they were standing there waiting. Not to mention, by the time they checked out, their satisfaction scores on, how well they were, how happy they were with the overall experience were off the charts compared to the people in the other line. We're talking about the same company, same products, one thing that was different: gratitude. Now this blew my mind, and ever since I learned this, since I am in retail and we do a lot of ringing, I never ever apologize for people waiting in line again. I thank them for showing up, for being patient for my team, and for waiting for that opportunity. So again, practical ways, that's what it's about. How can you be practical and how you make sure that this feels like something you can incorporate into your life when you leave here today. Since some homework coming, just giving you a little bit of foreshadow. I've been watching a lot of great speakers up here. I've been taking notes. There may be some homework coming. So the very last thing that I want to say about gratitude is I read this article, and it was going to say, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, that expressing your gratitude to others is just as powerful, if not more impactful, than counting your own gratitudes at the end of the day. So making sure that you share with people how grateful you are for them, for how they show up for you, is just as powerful as when you go home and say, I'm thankful that I had a meal on the table. I'm grateful that my kids were all well behaved today. Making sure that when you go by that drive-by and you're picking up your Starbucks and you're telling that person, I really thank you for dealing with my order because I know it's a little bit picky and I know I'm very specific because I need 3 shots of this and 2 shots of this and a squirt of this. Thank you for taking that extra time for me. Those moments where, you know what, you let a few people go by in traffic when you could have definitely cut them off, but you let a few people go by because you know it's tight. And you know that they're driving by with that sense of gratitude because you took that moment. So moments when you can give people a reason to be grateful and express your gratitude towards them are just as powerful. And when I was reading this, I really had to think about it because at first it didn't quite make sense to me. But when I did think about it more, the number one thing that I understood was gratitude is meant to be shared. It's not a one-man job. It cannot be a one-person job. And so if it's multiplied and magnified, the more that we involve others in it, ding, 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 does that not say abundance? And that's exactly what I kept thinking about. So take a moment to consider, how is gratitude already showing up in your life? Is it others that are open about expressing how grateful they are for you, and you're hearing that and you're receiving that and you're on that receiving end? Where can you be grateful in advance? Where are those areas in your life where you may not be feeling as thankful because things aren't going to play, to where you can actually start to shower some gratitude on it ahead of time, knowing that that will propel you into the alignment to where before you know it, you actually are there, saying thank you for those things that you're experiencing. And last but not least, where are you limiting yourself where gratitude can create expansion? And that for me was a really, really good question, because as I thought back in my past, there were so many times where that took me from A to B. And with that being said, I am going to invite my colleagues to help me hold the presence as we really take this moment to give thanks. Recognizing that there is a power. There is a power in the universe that is bigger than all of us, that is breathing through all of us. Knowing that this source energy is limitless. And as we recognize that that infinite love, that infinite power of creation is moving and expressing itself through and as us, how grateful are we to know that we are expressions of the Most High. To know that as we call forth that power from within, we can recognize our true selves. And I know that not only is this the truth for me, but this is the truth for all of humanity. That beyond all appearances, there is not one person that is not an expression of this infinite source. And so I am grateful, not only to know this about myself, but to know that as I look upon the faces of strangers, I can see the God in them. And that can remind me to just say yes. Saying yes to that love, that self-love, that group love. And so I speak this word for all peoples of all places, no matter what challenges are going forward in their life, that there is a power at the center of all of it, revealing that wholeness as we accept that we are inseparable from that source. And so for people who are experiencing health challenges, I know that the perfect order of the cells, anything necessary to express that healing is already written in their DNA. And so I know that beyond all appearances, there is still that perfect whole self. And that people that may be experiencing any lack and limitation in their finances, that abundance is our birthright. And so as we step into that of which we are grateful for that prosperity. We open our minds to how it is already showing up in our life and allow those floodgates to continue to reinforce that law of circulation where we may give freely and we may receive just as freely. And so I just know that at this time, as we take a moment to say thank you in advance for the blessings that we may give just by being our true, authentic selves. For that, I am grateful. And so I just take this moment to feel that love moving through and as me, through and as my neighbor. Surrendering past any fear and doubt and allowing myself to just feel that peace and trust that we are all connected. And so I just let go any apprehension to this truth. I let it be, and so it is. Thank you. I'm obsessed with that song, and I may have picked it perfectly to go with the speech today. You guys brought it to life. All right, well, now is the time in our service. Rev, I know I asked you to do this part, but I had to throw in the homework. So, this is the time in the service where we are afforded the opportunity to step into the law of circulation. I think I'm supposed to have a script here, but I'm going off top. So, do we have a basket? Yay!
Dana is multitasking.
Thank you. Please join me in our offering prayer. Thank you. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. And I am going to ask that maybe on a piece of paper in front of you, write down what you're grateful for to throw into the basket today. We can start the gratitude jar with our baskets. There are pins in front of you, I know in all of the chairs, strategically placed. And there may be a slip of paper there too. And if not, it's all good. And actually, we're going to pass out the little affirmation cards too. So you can also write on the back of your affirmation card and keep that little gratitude for yourself. And I think we also wanted to take a moment to thank the lovely people who have been in our audience watching today. I see some lovely names on this list. Judy Wolf. Woohoo, Judy! I'm seeing Pamela. I'm seeing Michelle. Is that Sanja? Sonia. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was saying the name right. I'm seeing Bobby, Barbara. We got Sue, Jean Alden, Keith Montgomery, Lynn and Marion. Thank you. Hi. There's a lot of people who have been tuning in from home, so we just want to take a moment to say thank you once again for allowing us into your sacred space today.
And so as our service draws to a close this day, I am filled with that gratitude. I am so grateful for this powerful message that we received today on the very topic of gratitude. I am grateful for our choir stepping forward today to support this message in such a powerful way. I'm grateful for our music. And we can carry with us. We know that this gratitude that we express is indeed limitless. And we know that gratitude is a powerful, powerful emotion. So when we couple an emotion together with a thought, we know that that thought, that is magnified, it is amplified, it is projected. And we know that gratitude is indeed a noun and a verb. And so we are grateful. We express our great gratitude. It's meant to be shared. So we just let it go, we let it be, and so it is.
So it is.
Our affirmation today, got it from the card that I drew. I am open and ready.
I am open and ready
to embody my highest potential.
to embody my highest potential.
And I am grateful.
And I am grateful.
And so it is.
And so it is.
We invite you to